Kathy, good morning. This is Damien from Mr. Wed. How are you this morning? Looks like I can certainly see you okay, Kathy. It looks like you might have your microphone muted at the moment. So if you have a look at your Zoom controls.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I didn't know you wanted me to unmute it. I was trying to find the chat.
That's all right. All good. All good. No, you're welcome to unmute. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
That's
welcome
good.
to today's session and congratulations on being the first one here.
I've been here for ages. I thought I'd clicked into the wrong thing because no one was showing up. Oh,
No.
good.
It's a 9 o'clock start. We're still 15 minutes away from kickoff.
Oh, okay, good. I was just looking at some of my emails that have piled up.
No worries.
Can you still hear me, Damien?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What assessments will we be looking at in design today?
Design. So the assessments we'll be helping you with today for design are fundamentally numbers 8 and 9. Well, really focuses on 9. Assessment 9. Yeah.
Okay. Develop learning programs.
That's it. So yeah, number 9 is the one we'll focus on, and I'll inevitably touch on 8 at some stage as well. Give you some tips for that. But 8 and 9 are the two biggest ones.
Yeah.
And 10 and 11 duplicate are the same process as 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And the stuff I'll be focusing on today is the more challenging bits. So once you've seen these couple of presentations today, you should be ready to roll. And it really breaks this cluster apart once we've gone through what we're going to do today.
I've actually submitted 9A and 9B.
Okay, cool.
I need to do C, D, and E. And I put it off to that was a while ago too. That was October.
Okay, well, it's 9A and 9B that are the focus today.
Oh, okay.
So you've submitted them, but they haven't been marked yet. Is that correct?
I've submitted them and they have been marked, but it's come back saying that I need to submit C, D, and E before it gets looked at.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Okay. That makes some sense.
Yeah. So I just want to do the whole thing again to make sure that I'm on the right track.
Okay. Well, today you'll get that covered for you.
Wonderful.
Okay, so
Thank you.
We'll have that well covered for you. All right. So I'm just going to start getting some things organized here.
Have you got as many today as you had last week? You had
no, not as many. Yeah, we had about 50 last week.
Yeah, assessment's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll probably have closer to 25 today. So that's why we've got the videos on today. I was a bit worried last week that just too many people to have the videos on.
Yeah.
So we've got the we've got the videos all on today.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And are you in Sydney or Melbourne?
I'm in Brizzy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, whereabouts are you, Kathy?
In Sydney, Rosebery, in sort of inner city. Yeah.
Yeah. Good spot.
Looks like a bit miserable out there. It's going to rain, they said. So.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Oh, well, I'm inside. It doesn't matter.
That's good. Kathy, can you just confirm for me that you can see that introductory slide, please?
I can, yes. Support sessions, Cert 4. Yep.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. And now we wait. We're due to start in 11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any questions about anything related to the course at all?
Not yet. I've just received from Philip Jefford that I got a month's extension. I started the course in February last year, yeah.
Yep.
But I didn't start working on it until around September or October because unfortunately, my elder sister had been diagnosed with cancer,
Right.
and I was sort of half like helping to care for her. So I
Yeah.
didn't really think about this course for months. And she actually subsequently passed away in July.
Right.
So it really was not on my radar at all to get the work done, unfortunately. So now I'm
Yep.
sort of scrambling right at the end to get it all done. And I've been given a 1 month to the 24th of May to complete.
Okay, cool. Cool.
So I have submitted quite a bit of work, but there's
Okay.
things that I've had to resubmit or whatever, and I've sort of just left them to the side. So hopefully the 4 weeks, I'll just put my head down and get it all out of the way.
Okay, so you've made a lot of progress in all 4 of the clusters.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
correct?
yeah. I finished LLN.
Yep.
I've only got a little bit to do with this one.
Yep.
I've done my delivery presentations. Yeah, I've done quite a bit.
Okay, cool.
But
Cool.
yeah, I sort of just let it all sort of go by the wayside, unfortunately. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, you got that 1 month to just dig in, get it all done. That you'll feel
yeah,
fantastic when that's finished.
yeah. Oh, my dog's going crazy. That's not me snorting.
I didn't think there was cocaine in your house. But I can't hear the dog is the good news.
Oh, right. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
having a bit of a crazy time on the floor there.
Yeah, the good news is the sound is so much better through Zoom. It seems to drop out a lot of the background noises
Yeah,
these days.
yeah.
So it's pretty good in that regard. All right, just the two of us. I would have thought that somebody else would have joined us by now, but they will come. They will
Yes,
come.
they will if you build it.
The Field of Dreams movie.
Mm.
Did you ever watch that movie?
Yes, I loved it.
It's a
I was
great
a bit
movie.
of a Kevin Costner fan in the old days.
Yeah, yeah. So was my wife. I thought for a stage there maybe my wife is too much of a Kevin Costner fan, but she stuck with me longer than Kevin Costner, so it's a win.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Here I
You
am
wait.
being distracted by emails and things. I should turn my alerts off.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, Toby Fowler option short course.
Or if you just close it, does that solve the problem too?
Yeah.
Because otherwise they will try and distract you. That's what email does.
I was off sick yesterday too, so I've just got so much. It's awful to have one day off and get so behind in everything.
Yeah, that can happen. That's for sure.
Mm.
All right, we've got a big group of people who've come in to join us. I've been sitting here chatting with Kathy for a while because Kathy must be like going for teacher's pet. She's been here for quite a while, guys. Welcome, David. How are you? Just got to hit that little mute button, David, that pesky thing there. You are.
Damien, I'm doing well, thanks, mate. I just got to close the doors. Bit of background noise, just against that.
No worries, do it. Simone, regular offender in terms of turning up for these types of things. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you, Damien. How are you going?
Oh, I'm feeling really good. I was quite sick yesterday. I didn't feel well at all. Had a really bad head cold and feeling a lot better this morning. So the world is good. The world is good. And I see that Johan, or is it Johannes, has joined us as well. There he is, hiding behind the dark glasses, buddy. You look like you're my security for today.
Good morning, Damien. How are you going?
I am very well. Do you prefer Johan or Johannes, or what would you like us to call you?
Just call me JP.
JP.
Yeah.
JP. Sounds very fancy. We can do that, mate. Anyone have any questions you want to ask before the tribe arrives this morning?
Yes, I do, but it's not on today's session. Am I allowed to ask a question on something else?
Absolutely. At this stage, yeah, go for it.
Yes. Okay. So I'm working on my second assessment tool at the moment.
Okay.
And I've selected third party on one of the instruments.
Okay.
Is that filled out differently because it's third party, like I'm not quite, it says, I think one of the things on there, it says something about a third party information, and I'm not quite sure what that sort of means.
Okay, so generally speaking, the template looks very similar. Okay.
Yes.
Again, you create a checklist for the third party to make decisions about yes or no, or tick the boxes, as the
Yes.
case might be. Where it says third party information, it's probably their contact details.
Oh, okay.
That information.
So
okay?
it's still set up exactly the same as how we set up all of our other instruments, except in that it's just asking who that third party person is.
Yes, I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Without seeing the field in front of me, I believe that's
Yes.
probably exactly what it is.
Okay.
Because we would need to capture that information somewhere, and I'm guessing
Yes.
that sounds like the field it would be. So,
Okay. And we just,
otherwise, it's pretty much the same process.
right. And how do we set that up? Like, because obviously with the questioning one,
Yep.
we have that set up that we're asking, you know, we've got our questions that we outline and with our direct observation. So how are we setting up the third party one? Are we setting that up as a direct observation or a questioning?
Yeah, you're setting up, you're developing a checklist, just like
Right.
you would with the direct observation, okay?
Okay.
And what will happen is the third party person who is going to, fill that in,
Yes.
they will look at it and basically identify whether or not the candidate has done those things in their presence or in their job, as the case
Okay.
might be. Okay.
No worries.
Now,
Okay. Yes.
you're doing the ASS cluster, Simone, as part of the Cert 4, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I asked that question because if it was TAE ASS 502, what I'm about to say isn't relevant. So
Okay.
anyone's listening in and you're doing TAE ASS 502, just go like this for about 30 seconds. Being in the ASS cluster, you're going to be assessing somebody with that assessment tool, including that instrument, Simone. Okay.
Yes.
And just remember, make sure that it gets in the hands of somebody who fills it in. Okay.
Yes.
Now, whether or not that person has ever seen them do any of the stuff that they're assessing or whatever, and whether it's got lots of yeses or ticks or not, doesn't matter. Tell them not to stress about that. If they've never seen them do any of that stuff, just go, no, 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 fill it in. And if you end up with a not yet competent at the end of the day, that's fine too.
Okay.
So
No
don't
worries.
stress about that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
No worries. All righty. I am expecting more people, folks. I was expecting maybe about 20 people to log in this morning. So
Wow.
it looks like it's going to be one of those days where everyone's going to jump in at the very last minute, which is okay. Did anyone else have any questions at this stage?
Yes, Damien, it's JP.
Yeah, mate.
I just want to confirm something. I've spoken to Jeff Cake when I attended his class, and I provided him some of my older clusters that I done, and they told me they're going to RPL me. But I see when I go on to my learning and that sort of thing on your website, I still need to do all this assessment criteria. So I'm not too sure if they already updated my profile just to do what I needed to do, or do I just follow everything?
JP, did you enroll just in the last few weeks, or was it longer than that?
Yeah, it's about the last 3 weeks. Yeah.
There's a chance we haven't got around to it yet. What I would suggest you do is send an email to us, JP, just asking. Okay, send an email, and we'll have a look at it and make sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I already, sorry, Damien, I already sent an email to a lady there before, and she told me she's going to sort it out. But
when did you
now
send the email?
well, when I was still in the class with Jeff Cake,
Okay.
and I
when was the
confirmed with
class?
her on the phone.
When was the class?
About 3 weeks ago.
Okay, and you hadn't heard back from anyone?
No.
Do you remember who the lady was?
Michelle, I think it is.
Michaela. Okay.
Michaela,
Cool.
sorry.
Okay,
Apologies.
that's cool, mate. Send another email. Okay, 3 weeks is a while. Usually we jump on things pretty quickly. It could be that Michaela's queued it and we've viewed it as a non-urgent thing. We might still be going to it, but you know what? Let's not die wondering about that. So send an email to me, and I'll give you my email address.
Yep.
And I'll check it for you. Okay, and just tell me exactly everything you told me just then. Okay.
No worries. Thank you kindly.
No worries. I'm popping my email address in the chat for you now.
Yep. Thanks for that, Damien.
No worries, JP. All good. I need to look after you because otherwise, if I do have problems today, I want to know my security detail is on task. Okay. As Giannis arrives, good morning, sir. How are you?
Morning, Darian. How are you?
Mate, I'm fantastic. Good to see you again. And I see that Ken has joined us as well. Ken, if you want to throw on that video and show us your flashing pearly whites and turn your sound on, say good day, we'd love that. There he is. Hello, Ken. Mate, there's a mute, unmute button on the Zoom panel. Just going to need to hit that unmute button so that we can hear you. That's it. You can talk now. We should be able to hear you. Oh, his lips are moving, but doesn't sound good. Can't hear you, Ken. It might be that your sound settings are on the wrong
How's that?
microphone. Yeah, that's it, mate. You got it now.
Good.
How are you?
Good. From 7 o'clock in the morning, not too bad.
7 o'clock. So you must be in Perth.
That's right.
Cool. Center of Perth or somewhere else out in the wilderness?
No, just in Yokine, just
Yep.
5 minutes out of the city.
Well, welcome. Thanks for joining so early in the morning.
No problem.
You'll be finishing up
That's
nice and
commitment.
early today. Oh, Ken's a trooper, apparently. Lisa, good morning. How are you? Just got to hit that unmute button, Lisa.
Sorry, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
How are you?
And I am fantastic. Thanks. And I see that Doreen has just joined us as well. Doreen, I can see the corner of your head. How are you? You might just want to unmute yourself, Doreen. You're currently muted. There you are.
Good morning, Emma. Sorry, I'm just chewing my apple. A little bit messy in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Of course, I am going to ask you to say hello just when you're in the middle of an apple. I see that Gemma's joined us as well. Good morning, Gemma. If you get a chance, oh, you did turn your video on and you're waving. Awesome. Act like a friendly person. You'll have us all convinced you're fantastic. How are you feeling this morning? You feeling good? Yeah, we'll go with a thumbs up. There you are.
Oh, yeah, all good.
So, Gemma, I didn't hear you then. Could you say hello again, please? Yeah, your lips are moving, but we can't hear you at the moment. So maybe you might want to change the sound setting for your microphone.
How about now?
That's great.
Yay.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're here. Awesome. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
All right, folks, welcome everybody. We are going to make a bit of a start. Okay. So if you want to pop yourself on unmute for the on mute for the moment so that we don't get a lot of background noise, that would be great. Just don't forget to unmute yourself when you need to. I'm now going to do something very ceremonial, which is basically blow my nose. So give me a second. Yeah, probably best that you don't hear that. All right. Thank you for being here. Goodness me, Kathy's been here a while, and Kathy and I were chatting away, and until about, I don't know, 7 minutes ago, we were sitting here by ourselves thinking, we might have a one-on-one party today, Kathy, but you have come. So welcome, everybody. It's good to see you here, and good to see you here as well, Car, and I apologise if that's not your preferred name, Car, but good to see everybody here. We will probably have a few more join us, and it'll be a bit of a rotating cast today as well. I suspect we'll have some people come and join us for the next session who are only interested in that one, not this one. So don't be surprised if new faces turn up for the second one. Today is all about developing learning programs and creating session plans. Can everyone see the introductory slide okay? Nodding is good. Fantastic. Yes. Thank you. It is exciting to have you here. We need to start off with some really, really serious business. We need to have some dad jokes. And today I've got animal dad jokes for you, okay? Just 3 quick ones. If you think you know the answer, pop them in the chat. So hit the chat button and right there. So put them in the chat rather than the microphone if you think you know the answer, because that gives people a chance to think a little bit. What does a bee use to brush its hair? When I tell you the answer, you'll go, oh, that was pretty obvious maybe, Damien. But what does a bee use to brush its hair? Any answers coming in the chat? Good morning, Catherine. Good to see you here. Lisa's got it. Lisa's a legend. Yes, so is Ken. It's a honeycomb. A honeycomb. Seems kind of obvious now, doesn't it? Yeah. Second one. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? Now, I suspect some of you might have small children who probably have told you this joke. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? Lisa's on it. Apparently, Lisa is the king of the dad jokes. Or is it the queen of the dad jokes? It would be, wouldn't it? Tentacles.
A lot of them.
You've heard a lot of them. What about this third one? This third one, I think I might have you this time, Lisa. Okay. How does a penguin build its house? Oh, taking a little longer this time, folks. Have I finally got you, Lisa? Ah.
Yeah, I don't know that one, I don't think.
Nothing in the chat, nothing coming. Well, if a penguin was going to build a house, it would glue it together. It igloos it together. That's what it does. Okay. All right. Let's move on to something a bit more serious. And of course, today is going beyond dad jokes. Why are we here? This is maybe a question you philosophically ask yourself on a regular basis, especially maybe while you do this course. But why are we here today? I'd love you to pop an answer in the chat. Pop an answer in the chat and tell me why you're here, and then I'll tell you why I'm here. Okay, so pop your answer in the chat as to why you're here. And then we'll have a bit of discussion about that. I see that Pooven has joined us. Good morning, Pooven. Glenn has joined us. Good morning, Glenn. And I think I've said hello to everyone else at this stage. Folks, if you can turn your videos on, that would be fantastic. Okay, so we can see each other. And you might want to just keep that sound on mute at the moment. I think from memory, it's Dr. Pooven, isn't it, from memory? Is it Dr. Pooven? Yeah. Hi, nice to see you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So JP has written that he'd like a refresher. Okay, cool. Ken has written to expedite your learning. That's great. Catherine has taken the big picture answer here of doing a Cert 4 upgrade, which is great. Pooven is a refresher. Simone's written assistance and guides with session planning. We will be diving into that in today's second session, Simone, so you're in the right place. Lisa's written to assist myself to get through this course and cement my learning. That's great. David's working on developing the DES and DEL clusters, and they are the relevant ones for today. Okay, so this first session now is really directed at the DES cluster. And some people here might be, no, I'll take that way. So DES cluster, if you're doing DES cluster, you're in the right place. If you're not doing DES cluster, then maybe this first session you could skip. Yeah, you could. Okay. Doreen has written, learning more techniques about how to design a good quality training session. Awesome. Awesome. And we'll be giving you some tips in that direction. And certainly we'll be focusing on the session planning things in the second session, which is directly relevant to that. I see that Danielle's joined us as well. Hi, Danielle. How are you? And if you're all wondering, folks, why I keep staring over there, that's where I see your faces. Okay. So don't forget, turn those videos on if you can, please. That'd be fantastic. Just makes it a lot easier when I ask for you to give me responses and things. I can see you nodding or going, Damien, I have no idea what you're talking about. So that would be great. You can see each other. Yes, we do have other real students at Mr. Wed. You're not the only one. Okay, so learning more techniques about how to design a good quality training session from Doreen. Okay, that looks like about it. All right, cool. It's good to have you here, Danielle. Don't worry. All right. Folks, why are we here? Well, that's why you're here. What I'm here to sort of represent Mr. Wed today and be your local Mr. Wed superhero. That's what I'm going to try and do. Danielle, your camera's not working. No problem. That's all good. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to try my best to be your superhero today. And in that sense, what we're going to do is try to make some parts of the course easier for you. Is everyone in favor of easy? Yeah. Is there anyone who wants hard, difficult, cruel and unusual punishment? No? Okay. If you're a fan of that, don't stay. but we're just going to try and break down some things and make it a little easier for you today. So first of all, welcome to come to the support sessions today. And what we're doing is we've got a series of sessions today. We've got one on learning programs, and we've got one on session planning, and then we've got one later, which is an optional one for questions. So if you have questions, you can come along to that one. Now, I don't want you to think, oh, okay, Damien, I've got it. Ask my questions, keep my questions, that last one. No, you can ask questions at any time. But what might happen is once you start practicing and getting into what we're talking about after the sessions today, then that's when you might start to have your questions. So if you do jump into that optional one at the end, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Between the sessions today, you will have time to continue the development of your documents. So I'm not so much going to be aiming for you to complete the documents while we're doing the sessions, but if you do, that's great. Okay, but what I'm really aiming to do here today is to give you a chance to finish them off between the sessions. By the end of today, you really should have one learning program finished and at least one, maybe 2 session plans. Okay. And we're going to have a variety of people here from different courses, and I'm going to talk about that and how it's relevant to you in a few moments. But you will have a chance to get stuff done today, which would be great. If you have technical problems, however, check your audio settings. Notify us in the chat. If you can't hear Damien, write in the chat, I can't hear Damien. And if 7 other people say, I can't hear Damien either, then you know it's my problem, not yours. If it's just not working and Zoom's behaving badly, log out, then log back in. Okay, I've done that before. Then call Mr. Wed if real problems. And in case of disaster, we will send you an email and say, look, we're sorry, something really bad happened. Zoom is broken down internationally for today, and we'll come up with an alternate plan. We've never had to use number 5 yet. Hope we won't have to today either. All right. So I want to ask a question. It says poll at the top, but I'm not running as a formal poll. I want your answers in the chat here. And what I'd like you to tell me is, how confident do you feel about being able to develop learning programs? Now, if you have no idea what I'm even talking about, you can probably say something like, I have no idea what you're talking about, Damien. But otherwise, how confident do you feel about your ability to develop learning programs? Oh, Kathy's going for the mathematical solution here of putting an 8 out of 10 on it. Do you feel good, bad, indifferent? Okay. Ken feels very confident. Love that, Ken. Jem is feeling moderately confident, as is David with a 7. Six for Pooben. Nope, not at all. Tell us that as it is, Simone. Love it. Brutal honesty is a good thing. Doreen, Lisa, and Glenn are all sharing the same brain and all going with 7 out of 10 today, all harnessing the same spirit. Danielle just a little bit lower than that. That's fine. Okay, this is all looking pretty good, guys, to be honest. 7 out of 10 on a good day. I won't ask you about a bad day, Catherine, okay? I'll just accept what you've written there. That's great. Okay. All right, cool. All right, well, those rankings are probably a little higher than I expected, so that's good. Let me ask you a follow-up question now, and I'm just going to put the words session plan in the chat to differentiate that. What I'd now like you to do is tell us how confident you feel about being able to create session plans. It'll be interesting to see if you feel better or worse about this. Pretty good. Ken's consistent. He's a very type of man today. Kathy with an 8. JP has gone the 3. A very lengthy process, says David. It is a lengthy process, my friend. It is. 7, 6, 7, 7. Okay. Danielle, Glenn, Dr. Pooven, Catherine, thank you. Slightly higher than the not at all. Thanks, Simone. Okay, cool. We're going to aim to raise the bar for you today, Simone. We're aim to get you in a happier place, okay? 8 out of 10 because I went to support group last week. Okay, Lisa. So you're feeling confident because we'll help you get there. That's awesome. And for those of you who are double offenders and turned up to the assessment tools one last week, welcome back. All right, cool. All right, good answers. Thanks for sharing, guys. That gives me an idea where we're at. It sounds like, generally speaking, we're in a fairly good place already, which is great. I hope today is a terrific refresher for you and maybe extend your knowledge and just give you that real boost of confidence so you can just smash through this. That's what I would love to see. Let's just dive into the Zoom controls at the moment. They look a little, they look probably pretty similar to this. You've got mute, you've got start and stop video, you've got participants where you can see who else is here. Okay. You've got the chat. We'll use that quite a lot. You got the reactions where you can press it and send a little emoji, and leave meeting. Well, that leaves the meeting. Okay. So use that if and when you need to. All right. Awesome. Good to see just about everyone's got their videos on, which is fantastic. I just want to say good morning to Bevan as well, who's just joining us at the moment. Thanks for joining us today, Bevan. All right. The Mr. Wed team, we've got a big team of people here to support you. We love to help you. My name's Damien. I'm one of the Learner Success team members. This is my 20th year at Mr. Wed. I love it here. They can't get rid of me, apparently. And I love these types of things where I get to interact with you and help you in a live situation. So I'm excited to be here to do that today. If you have any problems during your course, as we always like to emphasize each time we get a chance to talk to you, ring us or send us a message through Mr. Wed Online. So often if you get feedback and you're not sure about something, or, you know, replying that feedback is really helpful. Reply that feedback, send us a message. We'll see it there in your assessment. We'll be able to give you a quick answer. Otherwise, you can always ring us as well. 1-800-287-246, which is 1-800 to train. We're here 8:30 to 4:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Friday, having people here waiting to help you. And if you don't get through to us straight away, one of our team members will take a message, or in case of everybody on the phone, disaster, it'll go to a voicemail, leave a message, ask for us to call you back, and we will call you back. Okay. I'm now going to talk about the courses that are relevant to the 2 sessions today, okay, because I don't want you sitting here all day today and then finding out there, oh, I didn't need to be here today. So I do want to just dive in for a second and just explain which courses are relevant today. Please excuse me for a moment though, because I have been a bit sick. So I'll just pause every once in a while to take care of things. Okay. All right. Feeling better. So most of you are probably doing the full certificate for in training and assessment, the TAE 40116. If that's the case for you, you're probably enrolled in 4 clusters, unless you're only doing part of it, or you had previous credit transfers or RPL or something like that. Today, what we're going to be doing is relevant to 2 of those clusters, the DES cluster, which is learning design, and the DEL cluster, which is delivery and facilitation. Now, the first and second sessions, both of the sessions today are relevant to the learning design cluster. So if you're in learning design, what we're going to be covering today is very relevant to both the sessions today are very relevant to it. In fact, where they really help you is with assessments 9 and 11. Okay, assessments 9 and 11. Now, assessments 9 and 11 are the biggest assessments in the DES cluster course. Okay, so, and if you understand what we're going to show you today with the various templates that we're going to be presenting now and in the next session, you're going to be set up for success in the learning design cluster. It's just a matter of getting through all the work, because there's a lot of varied material, a lot of variety in that cluster. But we're going to be focusing on learning programs and session plans. Okay. With the learning design cluster, people often think by the time they've finished assessments 8 and 9 that, wow, that's a lot of work. That's starting to get a bit hard. I hate to think what 10 and 11 are going to be like. The good news is 10 and 11 actually duplicate the same processes as 8 and 9. Okay. So once you get to the end of 9, you're in great shape. It's only a matter of time before you get to the finish line, because 10 and 11 basically duplicate 8 and 9. Same process, just a different unit of competency. Okay. So that's where what we're going to be doing today is relevant to for DES. The learning program template is template 9A, and the session plan templates are 9B. They're the ones we're going to be working through today. For the delivery and facilitation cluster, the DEL cluster, okay, the second session is the one you want to see today. So if you're not enrolled in the DES cluster, okay, but you are in DEL, you are in the right place. In the DEL cluster, you actually create, wow, it's a lot of session plans. It might be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you create 5 session plans in the DEL cluster. So session plans are something you want to get really good at. Now, we'll be covering that in today's second session. I won't be touching on session plans in any detail in this first session. So literally, if you're in the DEL cluster and you're not doing DES, that's pretty unusual. But if that was the case, you could jump out now, and I won't feel for bad thoughts about you. There'll be no lingering, bad issues going on. Just come back for the second session today. Okay. TAESS 00014 and TAESS 00015 are skill sets. Let me firstly ask, is there anyone here who's in either of those skill sets or doing either of those skill sets? Just pop a yes in the chat. Yeah, JP, it sounds like if you're only doing the upgrade and TAE ASS 502, friend, this one's not going to help you today. So the one last week was the one. I think you're all good to go. In fact, JP he's still there. Mate, you can bail. It's all good. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I wanted to join the last one, but what I will do is I think there is a video posted on the last session you presented. So I'll follow that if it's okay with you.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, JP. Those videos, I uploaded them yesterday afternoon. So when you go to those courses, when you go to the TAE ASS 502 course, there'll be a new announcement at the top of that course, and it gives you, follow it through and you'll get the links to all the videos from last week.
No worries. My apologies. Sorry about that, guys.
Not a problem, JP. See you later. It looks like my security is leaving the building, folks. So the rest of you need to behave today and be nice, please, because my security detail is leaving. Thanks, JP. Glenn says he's in the same situation. So Glenn, you're welcome to depart the building as well. And so is Ken. Oh, I'm running out of people fast. No, but it's good to get these things sorted out now rather than later. Ken, did you have a question of any type before you leave?
No, I don't think so. I'm busy going through your recordings from last week. So, because my computer wasn't working, if you remember.
Yeah.
So
I do remember you had significant challenges last week, mate. So work through those videos and you'll be in great shape for that one.
Great. Thanks, Damien. It's been very helpful anyway so far. So
no worries. You got 3 free dad jokes to take about animals, mate.
I can also go back to bed.
Oh, okay, if you must. See you, Ken.
See you, mate.
Bye-bye. And Glenn has left the building, I think. Yes. Okay, cool. All right. Glad we were able to get that sorted. Is there anyone here who's in those skill sets? Or was that a yes from you, Lisa? Was it? Okay, cool. Lisa, is it the 1.4 or the 1.5? Yeah, not sure.
No. Whatever I was doing last week, I think, with Diane. I don't know what.
Yeah, I think. Did you do a whole heap of assessment stuff? How to assess? Okay, so it's 1.5. Okay,
Right.
1.5. So what's going to be relevant to you today is the session planning in the second session. Okay, what we're covering in this first session won't be relevant to you. Okay, so like our people are only doing the delivery and facilitation cluster, you can jump out, but I'd recommend you come back for the second session today. Does that make sense?
No. Sorry.
Doesn't make sense?
No, because I think I do want to do what you're doing this morning.
Learning programs. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't believe there's any learning programs in your course, but you know what? Stay and won't do any harm. Is that a good compromise?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Catherine, if the only thing that you're doing is TAE ASS 502, you could definitely depart the building because we're not going to be covering anything relevant to that unit today.
Okay, and not in this afternoon session at all?
Not this afternoon either. No.
Okay.
But what you will find is when you log back into that course, Catherine, at the homepage of that course are the videos I uploaded from the session last week.
Fantastic.
And they will be relevant and they will help you.
Thanks so much, Damien.
No worries. You might want to spend the time today watching those instead of being here, and that would be helpful to you.
Okay. Thanks very much. Sorry to bother you and all the best.
Not a bother at all. See you later, Catherine. All right. Okay. I presume there's no one else in the skill sets. Is that right? Okay, so we've got rid of a third of the folks already. Maybe we will get rid of you by 10 o'clock. Okay, no, I'm just joking. All right, good. We're all in the right place. So, are you aware of the new TAE 40122 qualification? This is a question I wanted to ask because it's a good chance to talk about this today. Pop a yes or a no, or I'm not sure in the chat. Because there's a new qualification. So for some people, this will be a surprise. You'll be going, what? There's a new qualification? And yep, so we've got a couple of not sures or no's. So we've got a bunch of yeses. So I'll cover this relatively quickly, okay? The update question mark. Okay. So what happened is all of you are doing, or all of you are enrolled in courses related to TAE 40116, okay, which is the qualification as the certificate for and training assessment. The diploma, there's a couple of diplomas, you're enrolled in those qualifications. That's why you're here, okay? There is a new TAE 40122, which was released in December, okay? We've been sending out marking and information. We actually started enrollments in it 2 weeks ago, okay? Now, my message is really, really simple. Whatever you're doing at the moment, keep doing it, okay? Because you might be thinking, oh, there's a new qualification. Does this mean the one I'm going to be doing is useless? Does this mean that I need to change and do another one? Does that mean I'm going to have extra work to do? The answer is no to all those things. Okay, keep doing what you are doing. The national stands currently say that it's quite okay to have either TAE 40110 plus TAE LLM 411 plus TAE ASS 502, or have TAE 40116 as effective training and assessing credentials for RTOs. Nothing's changed because of the new qualifications being released, okay? The truth is, the new qualification, the TAE 40122, is really, really different, okay? So if you've started and you're making progress on the current course, keep going with it, okay? Don't stop, okay? Especially if you're doing something weird like a skill set or an upgrade or anything like that. Just keep doing what you're doing. That will get you to a happy place and put you in good shape moving forward. The national standards are due to be revised later this year. They're currently going through that process. They're due to be released, I should say, maybe later this year, September, December is my best guess. When they're released, I'd be really, really surprised if they say, oh, people need to have TAE 40122 instead of TAE 40116. There will literally be riots in the street. I will have to go and hide somewhere and put a helmet on, okay, because everybody will be very, very upset, including us. Okay, our advice, along with all the fair dinkum RTOs, is no more upgrade-a-thons for this one. Okay, just let it sit. Let people be able to sit with TAE 40116 right without needing any sort of mandatory update or anything like that. So, with that in mind, and hoping that advice will be listened to, I'm not expecting a significant change to the national stands within a reasonable time frame. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, don't get distracted. Finish off whatever you're studying at the moment. All right. So does that make sense? Or do you have any questions that you'd like to ask? If you've got specific questions, I will dive in and answer them. So pop any questions you might have in the chat or just jump on the microphone. All right, looks like there's no questions, so we'll move on. Let's get going. All right, so is there anyone here who has never logged in to Mr. Wet Online? You've never logged in. If you've never logged in, could you pop yes in the chat? If you've never logged in, pop yes in the chat. Otherwise, just sit there and do nothing. Okay, looks like everyone's logged in, which is what I would expect. So I'm just going to skip this slide, okay? I just wanted to give you a reminder how to contact us. We've talked about that earlier. So we've got the free call number there, so ring us if you've got any questions, till 4:30 Monday to Friday. If you need an email address, because you need to email questions to us, that's the best address, which is submit. That goes straight to our assessors. Okay. If you've got questions about enrollments and stuff like that, then contact us is a better email address, but that's a good one to ask, send emails to if you've got questions about your assessments. All right. Now, today, just to give you an idea moving ahead, what's going to happen after this session that we're currently in, where we're going to deal with learning programs, you're going to have a chance to keep developing a learning program. Okay. And I'd love you to finish it off before we come back for the second session. There's enough time for you to get that done, I believe. Okay. After the second session, you can go and start creating one or more, however many session plans you got to do, you'll be able to cut loose and get them all done. Okay. And only attend session 3 if you have questions. If you don't have questions, you can come and have a sticky beak if you like. Listen in, see if other people have questions. Nothing wrong with that, but you don't need to attend unless you've got questions. Okay. Don't feel obliged. And of course, beyond that, all you need to do, as you know, is keep working your way through Mr. Wet Online and get everything done that you need to do. Okay, get all those online training tasks. If you've got some of those, get those done. If you didn't attend classes, get your learning activities done. Get all your assessments done, including those knowledge tests and all those projects. Get everything done, and then at the end of the day, we email a certificate or a statement of attainment to you, depending upon what you're enrolled in. That's the plan. All right. So before I start diving into developing learning programs, is there any questions you want to ask about the course or whether you're in the right place or not? If there's any doubts or concerns or questions about anything, please fire away on the microphone and ask your question now, or pop it in the chat if you'd prefer. I'll have a sip of water. We'll answer whatever questions you've got, and then we're going to dive into learning programs. All right, so it looks like you've got no questions to ask. That's fine. I'm going to share another document with you here. And I'm going to show an example of a learning program for you. Okay. Before I do that, I might actually just dive into this, and I'm going to just divert for a few seconds and go to training.gov.au. I want to show you something there that won't take very long. All right. So we're going to be talking about specifically about learning programs and developing learning programs, and that's a technical term for a specific type of document. And one of the things you need to do to design learning programs in this course is you need to be able to go and find units of competency. So I'm just going to give you a really quick tour on how to find a unit of competency. And the way you do that is you go to training.gov.au. Okay. Now I'm popping in the chat the link that enables you to access this particular page at training.gov.au. Now, depending upon whether you've been here before or not, you might see the new fancy look that they've got there. Or if you click this little button here, you can return to the improved homepage. Click here. It takes you to the old version. Okay. Everyone can see my my web page, can't they? I did. Yeah, good. Okay. It doesn't matter if you use the old one or if you click this one to go back to the new one. It does the same thing. Okay. You can search for nationally recognized training, or you can search for RTOs and organizations. Okay. What you're going to be spending your time doing is searching for nationally recognized training. Okay. So you click that button there, you start typing here, you click search. Okay. If you like to be on the old one, okay, the same fields are here. The nationally recognized training is first, which is the one you want. You type here. If you use this one though, unclick these buttons so you don't get old data, because you always want a current unit. Okay. So I might go looking for something. Let's say I might be looking for, I want to make some non-alcoholic beverages. Let's search for that. Okay, it's taken me straight to a unit of competency, because there is only one unit of competency that is current about non-alcoholic beverages. Okay, and if some of you are playing along at home, duplicating this, that's great. Good to get some practice. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and I'm going to do a search for something else. Okay, manual handling, another good generic topic. So if I search for that, this time I've got 4 results. Okay, they're all different units of competency. And because I unticked the boxes, they're all current. Okay, so this is a skill you will inevitably get good at during this course, is doing these types of searches, because you'll need to find units of competency for a couple of the different clusters. Okay, one of them is the learning design cluster related to learning programs. My main piece of advice when you're doing these types of searches is don't get too specific. Keep it relatively broad in your search terms. You got lots of options available to you. Okay. So, for example, let's say you're interested in, leading business meetings, and you want to improve your skills at leading business meetings. Okay, don't go and search for leading business meetings. You'll probably find nothing. Okay, now I could be wrong about that, but I think it's just way too specific. You probably won't find anything. And sure enough, 0 results, I'm right. Okay. What you would do instead is just pick one of those things. Okay, meetings. I want to lead business meetings. I wonder what there is about meetings. And then all of a sudden, you've got 26. Okay. All right. And that's 1 qualification, 1 accredited course, and 24 units of competency. So now you can look through there and see if there's something that might be relevant to you. Okay, I can see lots of them there have to do with race meetings and greyhound meetings. Okay, probably not the type of unit of competency we were after there. And but there's one here: manager meetings, organize and chair meetings. How good does that sound? Okay, so there are options here that will be relevant to you. So that's my 1 tip of advice. Of course, if I just go back to my original one, which was non-alcoholic beverages. So I'll just put in the words non-alcoholic. That strings the unit straight up. Then we can see the unit of competency. Okay, we can see what qualifications it's in. We can see all of the unit of competency information and all of the assessment requirements information on the page. That's everything you're going to need for the purpose of developing learning programs. Okay. You can download them in Word format or PDF format. Word is best because it's easier to cut and paste, copy and paste out of Word. So I always recommend Word. Okay. And you can download those documents and use them to your advantage. Okay. Now, for anyone who attended last week's Assessment Tool Design Day, you'll remember that we did this and used that a lot. Okay, we use that unit of competency information a lot. You won't be using it as much when you're developing learning sessions, developing learning programs. You'll use it a lot, but you won't use it quite as much, I'd suggest. Okay, especially for our assessment purposes. But this is all still very relevant. So I thought I'd just sidetrack and give you this little tour so that you can find the units of competency you need for your assessments when developing your learning programs and session plans. All right. Might pause for a second and just answer whatever questions you've got, folks. So what would you like to ask?
Damien, I just typed in a question. So then what's the difference then between the learning program and the assessment tools that we did last week?
Great question, Simone. Huge difference. Okay,
Mhm.
so with the one we were doing last week, we were developing assessment tools, which are the documentation we use when we're assessing people.
Mhm.
Okay, today has nothing to do with assessing. Today is about training. So a
Okay.
learning program is an outline, a very broad document as to how we're going to train a unit of competency. Okay.
Mhm.
And then in the second session today, we'll be doing session plans, which are the very specific documentation of how we deliver a specific training session. Okay. And
Mhm.
as we move more through this session now towards the end, I'll show you how we link the two together.
Mhm.
Okay. But the learning programs we're going to be developing in this session are the broad documents about how we're going to train a unit of competency.
Okay.
Which
Mhm.
is why I've done this diversion over the last 5 minutes to show you how to get the unit of competency, because you'll need to reference that when you're developing the learning program.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Damien.
Not a problem at all. Who else would like to ask a question? Okay. All right. That is great. Let's stop that screen share. And I'm going to bring up another document, which is the learning program template. Okay. I think it might be up, but I just want to move it. I want to find it. And move it into a better position so I can see it better while I'm talking to you. Okay. Folks, can you now see a Word document? It's titled Learning Program Template. Okay, great. So this is the document we're going to work our way through the rest of this session, and this is the nuts and bolts of why we're here. Okay. Now, if you want to do this while I'm talking, you can. Okay. You might want to start working your way through this template while we're talking. So to do that, you'll want to go and grab your document. You may already have previously downloaded. If you haven't, go to assessment 9. And I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. Okay, so don't rush. If you want to do this and you want to work your way through it while we're talking and while I'm presenting, okay, you can. So what you want to do is you want to go into the Learning Design Cluster, DES. Okay, DES, and it's Assessment 9. Now, when you get there, you will find that there's a line that allows you to download the templates for that assessment. And the one you want is template 9A. Now, I've just popped that information in the chat. DES Assessment 9, template 9A. In fact, it might be helpful if I actually bring that up for you on my screen. So I will be doing that in a moment. Okay, and please remember, if you've got a question, just jump in at any time, folks. Don't hesitate. Okay. So on my screen, I've brought up the Learning Design Cluster homepage, the view that you guys have. Okay. We're going to click, you can either scroll down and click on course tasks or click on modules. It goes to the same place. Okay. And you can click these little triangles to open and close the different components. The one we want is in the assessments right down the bottom. And you want to go to assessment number 9, develop learning programs 1. Once you're there, okay, there's some instructions, and there's this line down here that says, click here to access the templates needed for this assessment. Okay, by clicking that link, you then have a chance to download this first one, Learning Program Template 1. The way to download is to click the little arrow, little downwards facing arrow just beside it, and that will download the file onto your computer. When you've downloaded that file onto your computer, just open it up. Okay. Now, for some of you, you'll only have one monitor, and you'll be thinking, do I want to work on this and listen to Damien, or do I just want to watch what Damien does and keep life simple? You may make a decision that you just want to watch what I'm doing and the examples I'm going to show you and listen to me, and then come back and do this later. And if that's the decision you make, that is a perfectly good solution. Okay. Others, especially if you've got 2 monitors, you might be able to watch me on one monitor and what I'm doing, and then work on your template on the other monitor. If you want to open it up and work on it, that's great too. Just do what feels right for you. Okay. You will have plenty of time after this session to finish off and do your learning program template. Now, for those of you who are, well let me firstly ask, who's downloaded the template? So pop a yes in the chat if you've downloaded the template and you've got it and you're looking at it. Okay, I can see a bunch of yeses coming through, which is great. All right, cool. Folks, is there anyone who wants more time to download the template? If you want more time, can you just write the word more in the chat, please? Write the word more in the chat if you need more time. So I'm happy to be patient. These are nice people here. They'll be happy to be a little patient too. Is there anyone who needs more time? Just pop the word more in the chat. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward with enthusiasm. Okay. All right. Great. So if I just go back one page to the instructions for this assessment, okay. The instructions for this assessment, it's all about developing a learning program, okay. But to do that, you've got to complete 5 different templates, 9A, 9B, 9C, 9D, 9E, and actually, you've also got to show in a revised learning program or session plan as well. So it's actually 6 templates you'll upload, okay. This assessment is actually a follow-on to the previous one, assessment 8, okay. Now you might be thinking, oh no, Damien, I haven't done assessment 8 yet. How can I do 9? You can start 9 without doing 8, okay. You'll just retrofit, okay. Now, one of the questions people ask a lot about assessment 8 is, do I have to do this on a real world situation? The answer is no. Okay. You don't have to do this on a real world situation or scenario. You get to choose the scenario of relevance to you. It could be based upon a real situation in your work or in another workplace, or it could be another company, you know, or it could be a hypothetical company. It really doesn't matter. Okay. What I do ask that you do is you make it as realistic as possible. However, okay, we get kind of frustrated when we see assessments come in for Mickey Mouse Company with the CEO being Donald Duck. Okay, that doesn't resonate real well with our assessors. Maybe we're just serious people. I don't know. But we want you to practice doing something that looks like it would work in an RTO situation. Okay. So consequently, pick something that seems realistic, even if it's not. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. But you can come back and do 8 after you've done 9. Now, it's maybe not the ideal scenario, but today we're talking about 9, and specifically, we're talking specifically about assessment 9, template 9A in this session right now. because this is the one where it takes a fair bit of work and where sometimes our students like a bit of guidance. So that's why I'm focusing on this one. Okay. All right. So I'm now going to jump. By the way, before I jump out of this assessment about it, I jump out of this, and I'm sure almost all of you know this already. Once you've got all your documents, once you've saved them to your computer, once you've made all your changes, once you're ready to submit, just dive up here and click this Start Assignment button, and then you'll be able to upload your documents back to us for assessment. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the screen share on that slot on that. And I'm going to go back to the document again that I teased you with earlier. And we're going to start talking about how to fill it in. So, can everyone see the Microsoft Word document again? Awesome. All right, here we go. So we start off by talking about the client details. Now, remembering this follows on from assessment 8. So there needs to be a degree of consistency from what you do to 8 to 9. Whether you do it from 8 to 9, then or do 9 and then 8, doesn't matter. But just remember they're linked. Okay. So the client is a contact person and their position. Okay. You write it in. If you're doing a hypothetical situation, you get to know, you get to make up their position and their name. Okay, we're not going to be ringing them and trying to find them. We're not going to be asking you for contact details. Then the next field in the learning program is what is the program title? Now, the program title typically is the same as the name of the unit of competency. Okay, and this is the unit of competency we were looking at earlier, prepare and serve non-alcoholic beverages. So you just write that in there, you just copy it in. Okay. Now, for those of you who were at the Assessment Tool Design Day last week, you might be thinking, that sounds familiar. Yeah, it's the same unit we used last week. Same unit. Okay. So prepare and serve non-alcoholic beverages. Of course, you don't have to use that unit. Now, if you want to make things a little easier for yourself as we track through this morning, you might just choose that unit and show a bit of faith in me. Okay, that's relevant to you and that you can create a useful learning program and sessions for it. But you don't have to. It can be any other unit of competency. So I'm literally going to take a 90-second stretch break now and ask you all to stand up and have a bit of a stretch to give time for people who want to use a different unit of competency to go and look up the name of the unit of competency.
Damien, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, Simone. Yep.
Where it's got down there, identify the standards this program is based on, and it's got modules from an accredited course. So I've actually contacted, because it's through Transport for New South Wales that I was basing some sessions, or was thinking of doing it on. So can I still do that? Because it's not a unit of competency, the course that they've got put together, but you do need to be a trainer and assessor, which is one of the reasons I'm doing this course, to be able to do that. But the thing is, though, too, in that there is no pass or fail. All of the students so I wasn't sure whether I can use that.
Great question. Now, there are technical challenges if you're not using a unit of competency.
Okay.
As a general rule, I would recommend don't do it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Or talk to us individually first.
Okay.
Okay. So I would recommend, if you want to continue down that road, give us a call and have a chat to one of our learning leaders first before you do it. The reason is not that we're trying to be difficult. The unit of competency, this is all based upon, there's TAEDS 401, TAEDS 402, and one of them says you have to show us using actual units of competency.
Right.
So that's why you don't want to go down that road unless you've chatted with us first, Simone, okay?
Okay, no worries.
All right.
Thank you.
No worries, my pleasure. All right, so do take that time now, guys. Just give people a chance to go and grab another unit of competency if they want to do their learning program today on something else. And for the rest of us, we'll just sit and have a bit of a stretch, because we like to have a stretch break during our sessions. So you can do that now. If you want to pop up, leave the computer. We're going to take a 90-second break starting now. Okay. If anyone does have a question, you are welcome to ask.
So Damien, can we use a completely different unit of competency? Like if I've picked my 5 for my assessment tools, can I just use something completely different for the
Absolutely.
learning programs?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're not going to cross-reference at all across
Okay.
your other clusters.
No
So,
worries.
yeah, it's not a drama at all, Simone.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for checking. Okay. My timer has gone off telling me we've had 90 seconds. So I'm going to move forward. If you're still looking for a unit of competency and you get a little bit behind, you can catch up. Okay. All right. So the purpose of what I'm going to be doing, we'll be using this unit and this program, prepare and serve non-alcoholic beverages. So the next question on our template is, what standards are it based on? Okay. Now we got for a pretty complicated answer here. Normally speaking, 95 out of 100 student submissions just tick unit of competency. So if you do that, that's fine. Okay. In this case here, we've decided to go a little bit heavy on it and also incorporate some regulatory standards and other standards. Okay. The next section then asks, specify the names of the standards. Well, we've written the name and the unit code and the unit title. Okay. And then we've identified what these other standards are. There's bar company standards and restaurant and catering industry standards. So we've tried to consider these things as well as the unit of competency. Now, you don't need to do that. You can just put the unit code and unit title and just click unit of competency, and that'd be a perfectly acceptable answer. Okay. But if you're not selecting unit of competency, that makes me really, really nervous. The instructions do say use a unit of competency. And reverting back to the discussion I had with Simone a moment ago, if you're looking at using anything that's not a unit of competency, you really need to talk to us first, because you could do a whole heap of work here and then find that we go, no, sorry, you didn't follow the instructions. It's a okay. So use a unit, and that's the box we expect you to tick. Okay. Is everyone okay with that? We all together so far? All right. I'm going to move forward. The next section is target group. Can everyone see that on the screen? Target group. Okay. Now, they've written a lot of information here. Students work in waiter, waitress roles for X company. They're 18 to 30, looking for hospitality work, most with very little experience, multicultural backgrounds, uni students and international students, some English as a second language, and as a result, some of them have LLN needs. LLN is language literacy and numeracy. So it means that their language literacy or their numeracy isn't great. Okay. They either have problems talking with people or reading or writing or working with numbers and maths. Okay. So this target group answer is a really good answer. We want really good answers for this section. We don't want you to just write people who work in a bar, people who work in a coffee shop. Okay. Even experienced baristas isn't a great answer. We want more detail. We want you to consider other things that are relevant. Now, the reason this section is so important, the reason we want you to put a fair bit of thought into it, is because what you write here is actually going to influence everything else you do in terms of the way you design the learning program and the way you design the subsequent session plans, which is what we're going to be covering in the second session today. Okay. So everything will revolve around coming up with good solutions for your target group. So you want to think it through, and you want to have a lot of information about your target group so that you can define them as best you can. Some of the things I consider when I'm doing that is who are they? What sort of jobs have they got? What sort of jobs do they want? What is their level of experience? What is their current level of competence in that area? Okay. Do they have any language literacy or numeracy concerns? Do they have any special needs or disabilities? Okay. Do they have any geographical restrictions? Do they have any time restrictions as to when they can participate in the classes? Okay. And you just want to think through as many issues like that as you can. Are they a particular age? Are they a particular gender? Because that might be relevant. If I'm training a group of all women, I might use different examples and prepare different units and things, different situations that might appeal to them more than if I had a group of all guys. Okay. So write down that information as best you can so you've got a good understanding of who the group is going to be that you're going to be training with this learning program. Okay. Now, if you like it, while I've been talking, you can be writing down your own answer. Now, I do ask if you are doing this as we're going through this session, whether you're doing it now live with us in the room or whether you're watching the recording, please don't write down all the same answers as what I've got here. We're going to not be very impressed with your level of creativity and your ability to show us that you understand this. So please swap up the answers, change them up. You can use the same unit of competency, but, you know, especially with something like target group, get creative and re-specify the target group in a way that sings to your heart and who you might think you might be training if you were developing this unit of competency. Okay. So I'll give you another minute or so to get your target group together for those who are working through this with me here live in the room or for those watching the recording. And while you're doing that, is there any questions anyone wants to ask about the target group? Interestingly, for those who did the assessment tool design day with us last week, you'll remember that one of the first things we did in an assessment plan was target group. Same philosophy, same approach. Define that group as best you can so that in that assessment plan and the subsequent assessment documents, you can tailor the assessments towards that group. It's the same here, but on the training side. What do we know about them that's going to help us get ready for the training? So, folks, when you've done your target group, could you pop the word target in the chat for me, please? So I know that you finished that and you're up to date and things are looking good. When I see a lot of responses in the chat, I will move forward. Pop that word target in the chat when you finish that to your satisfaction. Keeping in mind that some of you may have only one screen, you may have decided not to do this live with us, and you might decide to just watch and then come back and do it later, and that's okay. Okay. I can see there's people who are still finishing, so that's fine. Take a few moments, folks. Now, this session we're in at the moment was promoted as being a 2-hour session, and we just clicked over an hour. We're over an hour in, okay? Just for your level of confidence, I suppose, we are right on track. We're doing well. I do expect to finish within this 2 hours. If there's anyone who needs more time, could you pop the word more in the chat, please? The reason I do that is I don't know how many of you are actually doing this live. And so if you need more time, let me know now. Otherwise, I'm about to move forward. Okay. All right. The next section here is entry requirements. Now, sometimes Sometimes units of competency have very specific entry requirements in terms of units that students have to complete before they can enroll in other units. Okay, that happens sometimes. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Now, for those of you who are doing this unit that we're working on, there is a prerequisite entry requirement. That is, they must have completed that unit. That's listed in the example there. So if you're using this unit, I would strongly suggest that you acknowledge that here as well. Okay, you can change the words around if you want, but you're fundamentally going to have the same answer. If you're using another unit of competency, that's something you can check later if you haven't got the unit available to just look through. But interestingly, aside from that, an RTR, registered training organisation, can impose their own entry requirements as well. Okay, we've always got the option to do that. Okay, do we do that? Not necessarily. So there might be no entry requirements. That would be a perfectly good perfectly good answer, is that we have no entry requirements other than another unit of competency. But if there is another unit of competency or something else you want them to do first before they participate in this training, then you would write that in this box. Okay. I'll just give you a few more seconds and then I'm going to move on to the next one. We're just going to move through this whole template, folks. This whole template. We'll finish this whole template within this hour. All right, I'm going to push forward. The next one is LLN requirements. So LLN, as I mentioned earlier, is language literacy and numeracy. Now, many of you would have already done TAE LLN 411, which is another unit, and we consider it as a cluster, that standalone unit within the Cert 4. Okay, in that course, you learn about language literacy and numeracy, and you learn about this mysterious thing called the ACSF. Interestingly, we've spelled it wrong there, haven't we? We've written, it's spelled wrong. It should be spelled ACSF, which I've popped in the chat. Obviously, we must have been having a drink when we did this section. I don't know. It's ACSF. Okay, so the minimum ACSF level 3 is what we specified here for oral communication and reading. Now, that's a decision by the training organisation that doesn't come from the unit of competency as such. It's never that specific. Okay, so that's a decision our training organisation has made for this unit of competency. Now, if you think people need super duper levels of skills in language literacy and numeracy in order to participate in the training, then maybe you'll go level 4. But otherwise, if they don't need big high-level skills, you might go level 2, level 1, or there might be no LLN requirements. Okay, there might be LLN requirements related to oral communication or reading or writing or numeracy or learning abilities. Okay, learning. They're the other core skills factors, the other core skills. Okay. But if you want to specify an LLN requirement for this unit of competency, for this program you're developing, this is the time to do it right there in that box. Okay. Level 3, if you think they need good skills, maybe level 2 or 1 if it's less important. Okay. Or you might write that no LLN requirements are required at all. That's an okay answer too. All right, so folks, I am going to move forward. And if you want me to slow down, the thing I would do is pop in the chat, slow down. Just write slow down in the chat if you want me to slow down a little bit, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to move forward to the next section. And the next one is delivery method, a brief description of the methods and activities. How are we going to train these folks? What are some of the ideas we've already got about how we're going to train them? And what we've written here is we've written role play, demonstration, lecture, activities, and assessment. Now, we know that good quality training requires a variety of approaches, okay? Okay, especially if you've done even in the learning design cluster, but especially if you've done delivery and facilitation as well. We emphasize that in both of those clusters. You need variety in training to make it interesting for people. It's one of the adult learning principles is creating that variety because it works. Okay, no one likes to be locked in a room and lectured at for 2 hours straight. In fact, it's interesting. I was talking to the phone on the phone to someone yesterday, and they were telling me about a class they attended at university recently. And it was a full day class. It was a weekend class. I think it was probably both days of the weekend, but they went to this class for the full day. Okay. And all day long, the lecturer lectured at them, just told them stuff for all day long, except for one brief discussion. And I'm thinking that is horrific. That's the type of punishment that should be reserved for war crimes, you know? Just sitting there lecturing at someone all day long. It's horrible. Try and create some variety, get people involved where you can. So reflect that in your delivery method there and have multiple ideas on how you're going to deliver the content. All right. How are we going, folks? We all okay so far? Nod your head if you are. If you're having a problem, go, Damien. No, there's problems here. Okay, thank you for the thumbs up too. Appreciate the reactions, guys. All right, let's go on to the next section. The next one is delivery mode and expected delivery. Okay, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more here. Okay, so on your template, you'll have 4 categories on the right-hand side. You'll have off-the-job component, which is classroom training. You'll have on-the-job training. You'll have self-directed learning, and then other. Now, what other is, I'm not really sure, but it would be something very creative not to fit in those other 3 categories. Okay. And what you do here is you estimate how many hours of training are required for those categories. Now, in this case here, we've chosen 3 of the categories. You don't have to do that. You might have the whole thing in a classroom off the job, and that's fine. It might all be self-directed learning. It might be some on-the-job component, okay? But I do recommend that you have a number in that section up the top. And I think 12 is probably a higher number than I would recommend. I would normally recommend a number between, let's say, 4 and 6. Now, there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that later. But I reckon class off the job component, maybe 4 to 6 hours would be a really clever number, okay? And then on the job and self-directed, provide the extra numbers that are required there. And then on the left-hand side, make sure that that total hours adds up to the total of whatever you put on the right-hand side. That total must add up to whatever you've got on the right-hand side. And you know what? Some of you might be sitting there thinking, well, what's the right answer, Damien? You know, what's the right answer? And I don't know. I don't know the right answer because it's up to you. It's a creative process. You're designing a learning program. You're designing training. And I know that for any unit of competency or any course, if I do it, or Mr. Wed's Phil does it, or Mr. Wed's Jeff does it, or Mr. Wed's Diane does it, or Mr. Wed's Kim does it, we would all have different answers. We would all design training differently. Just because it's a creative process, there's no right answer. You can't get this information from the unit of competency. It's up to us to decide how much training is enough, what the best amount is. So you decide there. Decide whether you should have off-the-job training, whether you have on-the-job training, whether it's self-directed learning, people doing it by themselves, and then decide the total. And trust your judgment, folks. Just that word of warning again, I recommend that your class off-the-job components may be 4 to 6 hours. There is a reason I'm saying that. I'll come back to that later. In fact, I probably won't even reference it till the next session, but that's my recommendation to make things a little easier for you down the track. All right, how are you going so far, folks? Give us a reaction in the chat, either press an emoji or just tell us. You going good? You going great? You treading carefully? How are we going? Pop something in the chat. Let me know. I see a couple of thumbs ups, which is good. Oh, Car's gone the old emoticon smiley face. Thanks, Car. Okay. Doreen's going good, happy. I like it. Nice. More importantly, perhaps, are there any questions or problems? If there are, just jump straight on the microphone now, please, and let me know if you're having a challenge of any type, and I will help you. All right, it's good to get those reactions. Now I've got another question for you. I want to ask you, are we kind of like the breakfast cereal? We're just right, or am I going too fast or too slow? Pop it in the chat. Damien is going too fast, Damien is going too slow, or just right. Pop it in the chat. Don't hesitate. Tell me I'm going too fast or too slow if you think that's the case. Okay. All right. Jebba, the Cheerios. They sell Cheerios in Australia, don't they? Is that right, Jebba? You can buy them on the shelves? Yeah, Simone, I think Simone was nodding. Okay, cool. I remember I didn't see Cheerios till I went to the States, and then they're everywhere. And that was a long, long time ago. I don't spend enough time with the sugary cereals these days, it would seem. All right. So it looks like we're going okay. So let's move forward. Now we've got a bit of a matrix looking thing going here. Okay, and this is the assessment instruments. Now, we're not going to talk a lot about assessments here. Our focus is going to be on delivering the training. But when we're preparing for training, we've also got to think about the assessments because we plan for them at the same time, don't we? So all we need to do here is decide which types of assessments we're going to be giving. On the left-hand side, we've got class-based assessments, and you've got 9 options. Kind of like the Brady Bunch, really, isn't it? Then on the right-hand side, you've got the work-based or independent assessments. You've got 9 options. Bold or circle the ones you think are appropriate for this learning program that you're developing. Now, I recommend just 4 or 5 in total is enough. In this example here, we've got 7 bolded. That seems like a lot to me. Okay, 4 or 5 is plenty. Okay. And just circle or bold or shade or do whatever you want to differentiate the ones that you think are appropriate. And again, you won't find answers in the unit of competency. You're deciding, making this decision based upon your experience and what you think seems right. Okay. So pick 4 or 5. All right. I'm guessing you're just about finished out. Yes, 4 or 5 across both, David. Yes, don't picking 5 in each side. You have so many assessments, it's just going to do your head in. So 4 or 5, David, across both in total is correct. Thanks for asking that question in the chat. All right. I'm going to move forward because we've got to be decision makers. You've got to make decisions quickly. That's what we do. Okay. The next one is assessment detail. Now, what we want here is more detail about those assessments. So you just highlighted assessments in the previous section, okay? When are you going to do them? Is there going to be a particular sequence? Are you going to do some at the start? Are you going to do some in the middle? Are you going to do some as summative assessments at the end? Are you doing them to help with the training, or are they really formal assessments that you'll be doing at the end? Okay, so pop your answer in the chat as to give us more information about them. Okay. Provide that extra level of detail about the assessments. And you've got a lot of flexibility here. You can see a written example in front of you, which gives you an idea of the level of detail and some of the ideas you might want to consider. But write your answer based upon the unit you're working with and what you think would be appropriate for the assessments for your target group. Role plays, case studies, that sounds great, Kathy. Yep. So flesh it out a little bit when you write your assessment detail answer. You know, when are you going to do those role plays? When are you going to do those case studies? David's going to use a lot of on-the-job observation. That sounds great. So pop that into your answer for that assessment detail answer, David. Pop it in there. Doing things that are convenient for yourself as the trainer / assessor, and more importantly, doing things so it's convenient for your learners is an important thing to think through when you're doing an answer like this. And again, if we lined up all our Mr. Wed learning leaders, we'd all come up with different approaches. It's a creative exercise. Just give you another 20 seconds to finish that, folks. Okay. Now we're getting to something that I think is a fun bit. I like this next bit. What we're going to do now is we're going to write our session plan titles. Okay. Now, before you get started, I'm just going to explain a few things. So, pens down. Always wanted to say that. Pens down for a second. Just listen in for a few seconds, and I'll explain some things about this, and then I'll give you time to do this. This is important. Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is write the session plan titles. Now, we're currently developing the learning program, the big picture document for all the training relevant to this learning of this unit of competency. Okay. What you're going to be doing in a moment is you're going to be writing down the actual titles of the sessions that you're going to develop. Now, we'll be developing the sessions in the next webinar. Okay. So when we come back later in the day, for the session number 2, we'll actually be developing session plans. And those session plans you're going to be developing are the ones that you're going to write the titles for here. Now, when you get to that template, when you're doing that, we specifically ask you to write at least 2. We want you to write at least 2, probably maximum 5. Now, we'll talk quietly for a moment. Okay. Now, in my experience, most students probably prefer to do less work rather than more work. Do you think that might be true? Yeah. Yeah. If you like less work, then you might only want to do 2 session plans. If you like lots of work, you could do 100 of them and you'll never finish this course. Okay. So don't do 100. Okay. But unless you feel a compelling desire to write lots of session plans later in the day, 2 is a good number. 3 is an okay number. I wouldn't be doing more than that. Okay. The number of session plan titles you write here will dictate how many session plans you have to develop. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I think 2 sounds like a good idea. What you're going to now do is you're maybe going to have a little look at that unit of competency. And you're going to have a bit of a think what's in the unit of competency, and you're going to write the actual title for the unit, for the sessions here. Now, if you're only doing 2, just leave 3, 4, 5 blank. Okay. If you're doing 3, just leave 4 and 5 blank. Okay. But now's your chance to write down what you think the session titles should be for your sessions for this learning program, for this training. Okay. So take a moment to do that. I'll give you 60 seconds to take, actually, I'll give you 90 seconds to take your time and write the session title names that you think are appropriate. While we're doing that, if you've got any questions, please ask. Otherwise, I'll just be nice and quiet and give you a chance to focus. So get stuck in. Good luck. Folks, when you're done with that, could you pop a done in the chat? Just pop DONE in the chat so I know that you're finished, please. I can see that everyone's not quite finished yet, so I'll just give you another 20 seconds, folks, then I'm going to move on. Okay, if I move on before we're ready, please excuse me for that. But you will have a chance to finish this afterwards. So another 15 seconds and then we'll move on. All righty. Add additional rows if required. Don't add additional rows. I don't want more than 5 session plans. Don't be doing that. I can trust you not to put in extra rows, can't I, David? You won't be putting in extra rows, will you? No, good. All right. So let's do these next 3 as a group. Okay. First one is facilities. Then we've got equipment. Then we've got learning resources or materials, which are things that typically we create as trainers that we want to remember to take to the training with us. Okay. I want you to let your creative juices loose. So you got some good examples there to give you some ideas. Okay. I want you to come up with at least 3 or 4 ideas for each of those categories. Okay. Facilities. What do we need to remember about facilities? What do we need to remember about equipment that we need to take with us and have available? And learning resources or materials, which is paperwork, documents, things we're going to be using or referencing. Think through those categories, write down at least 3 or 4 answers for each of those. And I'll give you about 4 minutes to do this, folks. We're heading towards the end here. We're doing really, really well. So you've got about 4 minutes to do this. I'll just be quiet and let you think, because you can read those examples, get some ideas down on paper. If you have questions, please just jump on the microphone and ask. Folks, when you finish with those questions, could you pop a done in the chat for me, please? Just DONE, done, when you finish those 3 questions and when you're up to date with everything. How often I asked a very good question in the chat, and the question was, is it necessary to provide the quantity of equipment or resources needed? And the answer I gave was no, it's not necessary. It's your choice, but often it's a good idea. So for example, let's say we decided we were going to make some fancy non-alcoholic beverages with those little umbrellas in it. You know, those little umbrellas you put in cocktails? And we were going to get our students to maybe practice that, making some fancy mocktails with umbrellas in it. If we just had umbrellas drink umbrellas, whatever they're called, in our list of, where would we put it? Probably in equipment. We probably had it listed there in equipment. That's good. It reminds us we need to take them. But if we were going to be using a lot of these, I mean, we're going to be using these like no tomorrow. We need 50 of them. Okay. It would be cleverer, I think, to put 50 umbrellas rather than just umbrellas. So that you know, oh yeah, I need a lot of them. I've got enough. Okay. So I think quantities are a good idea. But is it necessary? Probably not, unless you're going to get really caught out badly if you don't have enough of them, and common sense would suggest that people might not take enough unless, they were told. Okay. I often tell the story in classes about how once on my list of resources, I didn't take a cable. It's the cable that connects the data projector to the computer. Back in the old days, we used to use a lot of data projectors rather than, plasma TVs and things that a lot of people use these days. I didn't have that specific cable on my list of equipment, so I didn't take the cable. And as a result, I got to the class and I was stuffed. I couldn't use my PowerPoint slides at all because I couldn't connect them through to the data projector. So I changed my list of resources to include the cable, and never made that mistake again. Been there, done that. So David, my heart goes out to you, mate. It was a bad day for me when that happened. I adapted, we got by. But yeah, always have good lists of what you need. All right, I think we're ready to move on. So I'm going to do that now. Lots of people sitting around a laptop. Yeah, David, I hope it wasn't a class of 300 that day. That would have been a bit tough for you. But yeah, we've done things like that. All right. The next one is workplace health and safety. Will a work health and safety risk and hazard assessment be conducted in the training location? Look, I think it's a really good idea to always do that, to be honest. I don't know when I'd ever tick no for that. So I'd suggest a yes. And when in the example here we've given before training and by whom the trainer is a pretty simple answer. So you can duplicate that answer or change it up however you wish. So I'll just give you a few seconds to answer that section. Okay. Guys, did you catch that bit about the workplace health and safety? I said it, but I might have been muted. You did hear that? Okay. Then there's a section about review of learning program. So how are we going to review the program? How are we going to make sure that everything's working okay? Okay. So we've got some examples here related to absences, busy cafe, equipment, and WHS. Okay. So pop some ideas like that into your answers as well. How you're going to review the learning program, things you want to keep an eye on. And then after that, there's a post-implementation review as well at the end. How are you going to collect data at the end after it's all over? So some review of learning programs, some things to be aware of as you go through the program, and then the post-implementation review, which is when you get your student feedback and how you're going to review the whole program after it's all been run. So I'll give you time to answer those sections for you there. Give you about 2 or 3 minutes to do that, guys. While you're working on that, if you have a question, please jump on the microphone, ask away. Folks, when you finish that, could you pop a done in the chat for me, please? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Kathy, Gemma, Katie, Doreen, Carr. All right. Okay, I think that just about covers most of the usual suspects who are working along with us. But I'll just give you another 30 seconds, guys. I know that there's one or two others. Lisa, you're glad you stayed. Good revision. Nice. I'm glad you're here too, Lisa. Awesome. Simone is done. David is done. Yanis, you're done. Good job. All right. Okay. Look, the only other section remaining in this learning program template is the budget. Okay, now scroll down to the budget. Okay. Here's the story with the budget. Okay. I don't expect you to be able to do a very accurate budget. I just don't expect you to be able to do that without a lot of research and a lot of time and having a really good, familiar understanding of this course you're developing. Okay. And I'm not really worried about it. We're not actually assessing your ability to create a super duper accurate budget. We're assessing your ability to show us the process of budgeting and that you can do the process. Okay. Now, the example that we've got here, if I scroll down a little bit more, you'll see that we've filled in most of the fields. Okay. Some we haven't, most of the fields. Okay. I don't necessarily expect to see all the fields here filled in by any means. This one's probably got a lot more detail than I'd expect. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to work your way through each line item. Okay. And if there's costs that you can think of, yeah, there'd be costs for that. Estimate what those costs would be. Okay. That'll give you totals along the right-hand side. Then there's places for subtotals for salary and wages, equipment, learning materials and consumables, venue and catering. Okay, so fill in those subtotals and then add those up to get the overall total. Okay. Now, I'm not intending to go through this with you now because I think you're quite capable of doing this after we end the webinar, to be honest. Okay. Please do not stress about the budget. If this takes you longer than 10 minutes to do this budget, you're working way too hard on it. You're spending way too much time on it. Okay. Do not spend more than 10 minutes on it. I'd feel much more comfortable with the world if you spend closer to 5 minutes on it, jotting down some numbers, putting down some ideas, working out the subtotals, working out the total at the end. Okay. I'd aim to do this in about 5 minutes. Okay. Because let's face it, you know, this is a course that you probably haven't delivered before, or maybe you have. You don't know all the specific costs. Okay. But if you're doing this in real world RTO, you or somebody else is going through this process. Okay. And not necessarily you as the person who develops the learning program. But we do need to collect evidence that you understand the budgeting process and you understand that it's important. So you do need to do it. Okay. But 5 to 10 minutes max on that budget. Okay. I'm just sort of randomly scrolling around here to give you looks at different parts of the template and how we've approached it. Okay. Don't feel compelled that you need to fill in every line, but make sure you've got those subtotals done and that total at the bottom. So you have an idea what it costs. Now, sometimes people say to me, Damien, I don't need to do a budget because our assessors are already getting paid. Our trainers are already getting paid. It's not going to cost us any money to run this training. And I go, not buying it, just not buying it at all. There's always money involved. Okay. Even though you might not have to write a check, there's money involved. There's always some equipment. You're always using trainers and assessors. Even if they're working for your organization, they're getting paid. They're getting paid to do this program. So you should estimate what those prices, what those expenses are. Does that make sense? Yep. There's always a cost to everything. That's pretty much all I want to say about the budget. You'll be able to do that as soon as we wrap up this session in a few minutes' time. Is there any questions you want to ask about the budget? Is there anything you want to check? Doreen, I've just seen your message and I'm just popping back to where you want to have a look at. Okay, there you are. All right, folks. Now, we've been working on this for 45 minutes, this learning program. We started less than 45 minutes ago. So it didn't take a huge amount of time, did it? Okay. So you should be able to smash out your other learning programs you do too in the learning design class. You should be able to do the next one within half an hour. Okay. That's in assessment 11A. Okay. With assessment number 9, it asks you to provide a revised learning program or session plans. Okay. So it basically, what happens with assessment 9 is you develop your learning program like we've just done, and then you develop your session plans like we're going to when we come back for our next session. And then it asks you to provide a revision of one of them, okay? Which is basically show us some improvements. I'll just mention now for your awareness, when you do that, when you do those improvements, we don't want you to feel as though you have to change the whole thing. But we don't want you just changing one word somewhere either. We do want to see a couple of significant changes. Okay. So you could do that for this document if you want to. You either have to change the learning program or session plans. It's an or, one or the other. Yeah, so what you could do is you could change this document up after you've finished it and you've looked at it, have a couple of ideas, maybe things you could have added to it, maybe change some budget amounts or something like that and improve them. Maybe changed some of the review of learning program or post-implementation review. You can change anything anywhere. Make a few changes, highlight them, resave the document, then you've got 2 documents ready to submit for this assessment. Okay. Now, I hope that made sense. Did all of that make sense, or does anyone want me to repeat that again? Just pop the word repeat in the chat if you want me to repeat all that again. Okay, so it looks like you've got it. For the folks at home, if that didn't quite gel with you, just go back and read that bit again, okay? So post-implementation review should be up on the screen at the moment for you, Doreen and Lisa.
Yes, thank you, David. But can you pop up back to the top of the template, please? At the beginning of this session, I was setting up my devices. Sorry, I missed the client details. So for these client details, the contact person is supposed to be the workplace supervisor or the venue we organized, the person who we need to contact with.
Yeah, so normally if we're developing this training for a group of people, it's the contact person from that group of people. Okay, and that's not necessarily the case though, because sometimes we, like Mr. Wed, we might have public courses where anyone can come. Okay, if that was the case, the contact person might be someone else within our training organization who we contact if we have questions or problems about the training, just like that we've got a training manager as the example here. But it could be a specific client for an organization that we're developing the training for, or it could be somebody internal to our organization. Does that help, Doreen?
Yes, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Folks, are there any other questions about this, about learning programs and developing learning programs? All right. Awesome. Well, I think you guys have worked really, really well together. So I thank you for that. I thank you for being patient where you've had to be patient. I thank you for being dedicated and moving along where you've needed to move things along to keep up with the group. Thank you. I do want to ask for one more thing in the chat before we wrap up, and that is I want you to put down something interesting that you've learned or found that you want to remember from this session for maybe when you do your other learning program. Pop it in the chat. What's something that caught your attention? Maybe it surprised you. Maybe it's something interesting. Maybe it's something you want to remember. Maybe it's something important. Pop it in the chat, and then others will see what you've written as well, and that will help reinforce what we've learnt maybe. Thanks for your kind words, Giannis. I appreciate that. Thank you. It has been a great session. You guys have been fantastic. Don't overthink it. Yeah, sometimes we do that, don't we, Giannis? Sometimes we overthink things. 4 or 5 assessment tools, assessment methods each. Yes, thanks, David. Details for learning resources and materials. No worries, Simone. The review of the learning program. Good stuff, Doreen. Less is more. Don't overdo the assessments. You know, we're here to verify that you can do things, Katie. You don't have to be superstars. You don't have to give us the world's best learning program we've ever seen in our life. Okay, I'm not going to be giving out any high distinctions for it. Okay, and to be honest, in RTOs, often we're not trying to do that either. We're trying to prepare something that's really functional and valuable and helpful, but do it in a time-efficient way. Kathy's also made a note about the overthinking thing. Make assessments convenient to the logical flow. Yeah, everything needs to flow, doesn't it, Gemma? The training through to the assessments. So it's good that you were thinking that through when you're writing about the details for your assessments. That's really valuable. All right. Well, folks, I think that just about wraps it up for this session. We will see you again for the next session. Now, unfortunately, I just need to look up what time it is. The next one starts at 1 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. It goes for an hour and a half. Okay, so that's just over 2 hours away. So you've got time now to dive in and finish off this learning program if you haven't. Also to go and develop a second one if you like. You got time to do and dive into your studies and go hard, and we'll see you in just over 2 hours from now at 1 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much for working so well together during this session. Please say goodbye to each other, and we're done.
Thanks, Damien. See you later.
No worries. See you later, Simone. See you all. Bye.
See you all.
Bye, everybody.